Hey everyone, bienvenidos. Welcome to the Biz Bruja with Vanessa Codorniu. Today I'm going to be talking to 5 magical, wonderful, amazing, beautiful women. I cannot wait to share them with you all. And each and every one of them brings their own magic. Hola, hi, beautiful. How are you? Hello, La Brujas Club is here. I'm so excited to talk to the lovely, magical, really deep woman behind La Brujas Club and to talk to all the different women that are coming on today. Today at 11:30 we have Natalie Farfan. At 12 we have Shirley Johnson. At 3 p.m. we have Jovan Caciares. At 5 p.m. we have Kelly Espino talking about inner child. And at 8 o'clock we have Ilona Pamplona. So there is an incredible lineup today of really wonderful, amazing women. And so I want to invite La Brujas Club to come on now so we can start this conversation, because I cannot wait to get to know her better, get to know the work that she is bringing into the world, and to share her with you. So let's see. I think you have to request to be brought on. Let's see if, yes. So La Brujas Club, you have to request. There you go. Let me see. I think you did. Yes. Welcome, everybody who's coming on. Hola.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here with you. And so I've talked about you a little bit. I would love for you to introduce yourself, hermana. Just give us, your name, where you are, your mission, your work.
Sure, absolutely. Natalie Farfan here. I am the founder and community guardian of La Brujas Club. And I initially started this community so that we can bring out all these women, initially women of color like myself and indigenous women from Ecuador and women of color throughout, to find a safe place where they can come and do collective healing. And I have read your bio in the past, which is that you've come from a lineage of healers and brujas and spiritual people. And I as well, except that me growing up, it was never this trend and it was never cool. Like you said in the post, like no one's taking pictures of altars. And this is what the resurgence looks like. And I am happy that it's become a place of, this is my right. I'm going to show my altar and I don't care what you think. I don't care if you're going to throw your Catholic shame at me or whatever shame, right, from society. So I'm actually very grateful for the resurgence, because I was a bruja in the closet for a very long time. And when my mom passed away in 98, she was shamed for dying as a bruja in a way. And it was very weird to see that colonization and oppression from religion in 98, right? Imagine back in the 30s or before that, when the witches were burned for same reasons, for being a healer. So I created La Brujas Club as a way to create a safe platform for women, the queer community, and now really for everybody to find a safe place to hone in on their natural superpowers like intuition and become better versions of themselves without feeling judged. So that is who I am, and ultimately I'm here to bring wellness and more attention to what is the overall wellness, and ultimately it's the collective healing, because I think that there's too many brujas and brands that are siloed, and what starts to happen with that is that we start to lose the collective powers that we have. It's also very individualistic of us to only create things without cross-pollinating with other healers. You're a great example of that. I'm very grateful you went on La Brujas Club, as not only as a healer, but also as a very much cultured woman who understands that this is different for everybody, what spirituality looks like.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I love that you had me on, and absolutely looks completely different. And I'm so sorry that your mom passed and that she was shamed. In my family line, we had generations of intuitives, and hacíamos limpias, and we did the limpias, and we did we dropped the egg into the water. We read it. My aunt, she wasn't really my aunt, but when you're an immigrant, you call it your close family, la tía y el tío, right? And she was from Uruguay, and she taught me techniques on reading the situations. And I did not start this out as a business. It was just to heal myself. And then it was, and so my first circle was about 30 years ago. And I didn't know what I was doing, right? And then I took time off. And then 20 years ago, I started a circle in New York City that happened every month. And it was diverse and it was inclusive. I didn't even charge. And so what you're talking about, healing for the collective, holding space, is really what I think is at the heart of being a bruja. I think that's at the heart of being a bruja. I think that it's at the heart of, I mean, and everybody does it different too. Some people are solitary. They just want to do their own work privately. But there's so many of us who are seeking homes, places like La Brujas Club, places like my circles, right? Online. And we need it. And it looks different for everyone. One of the things that I would say though, I am proud that we're out too. And I had to go through that bridge because after all this time of reading my community, healing in my community, holding space in my community, and I lost my job, everybody's like, do what you do, do what you do. And I'm like, and so I had to go through almost an ancestral healing and clearing, which I'm sure at some point for you as well, to be able to take a picture of myself with my altar, to be out talking about priestesshood or brujahood, etc. How would you define a bruja, Natalie?
A bruja to me, and let's start with what the word bruja is initially and why it's so taboo and how we have to decolonize the word bruja before we can dive into what bruja means to all of us individually. So there's a book called Nurses, Midwives, and Witches. And I believe that's the order of the way they're named. And look it up. It's an amazing book. It's short, sweet, and it discusses the aspect of what a bruja was back in the days before they were taboo, which is like they were healers, they were midwives, they were the nurses, they were the herbalists. They were the ones that was in tune with spirit and would tell you a premonition, and then it happened, and you're like, and when Western medicine came about in history, and there was actual medical school and universities, the only people that were allowed to go to these schools were very prominent white men. Oh, yes. I'm so surprised. And through that process, there was maybe one or two white women that would be kind of allowed in, but they would have to be direct relatives of these very rich white privileged men. So what does that mean? That means that being a bruja has always been about helping the community, and it's always been people who are more on the lower income side. Those were the healers. And when they were healing people without bringing business to the Western hospitals back in those days, they were then criminalized and punished and ultimately called the devils if they cured you of a disease through herbs versus that doctor that tried to do surgery on you. So those are the true brujas, are really healers of the community. And that is what I consider most brujas to be, whether you practice tarot or you love crystals or you love to just pray to the moon or you like to dance and chant naked to the gods. I think that these are all different ways of healing. Those are just called tools or tactics to try to tap into your spiritual self and your spirit, right? Yeah. That we all have. So bruja to me is an empowered person who has finally found and believes in the power of their intuition and truly goes beyond just being self-servant, right? Because being a true bruja is a public servant job. Don't come here with an Instagram saying I'm a bruja and all I see is pictures of you showing your body and talking about how vanity plays a role, or talking about how do we all get crunk this Friday. That is a lifestyle that we can all possibly dive into, but that is not what being a bruja, aka healer, aka community guardian is about.
Natalie, I love you so much, and really we have more in common than we can imagine, because it's become such a trend, and in a way it's good because it's reaching a lot of places. But like I said on a podcast the other day, people are like, I'm into crystals. I'm into. I was like, I'm not into. I am the crystal. Right? The magia is within me, and I'm accessing it through my inner self. And so I'm so glad that you said that, because that's what I've been seeing, right? And you've been doing this a long time. I'm older than you, so I've been seeing so much even before Wi-Fi started, right? And so I've literally seen the old timers, the people who don't put the altars, the people who've been shamed, and then being online 8 years, and how, like, I didn't even share about my circles or take pictures of them. I mean, now a little bit more, but now every time that people are just having, I don't know, hanging out in a park, people will take pictures. As I've seen this, I've been in person. Well, they'll put a crystal in the middle, pose, take a picture, and then they go on with their day. And I'm like, wait a minute, are we doing a ritual? Are we doing a circle? What are we doing?
Yeah.
But
That is what happens with mass commercialization. And to understand that we have to go back to our roots is to decolonize our minds, but also to not buy into what is people just doing mass colonization. I'll give you a secret to your community that I don't normally tell people, even in my community, because I think it's kind of toxic, but it's one of my vices. Once in a while, I'll put on Atlanta Housewives of whatever, one of those housewife shows, and it's completely my guilty vice, because it's not like I leave there feeling like, ooh, what a great show, you know? But the truth is that the minute I saw them shopping for crystals on these reality shows, I knew that it would take healers like yourself and myself and others to bring it back to its core messaging, which it isn't about just putting a jewel on your body. It isn't just about showing off a crystal that we have to also be conscious is taken, ripped from the earth.
yes.
So think about that crystal the same way you think about when a baby's taken away from the mom.
Yes,
this is natural resources that we are using, and because of that, we should be so intentional. We shouldn't be thinking about the 20,000 crystals to buy. We should think about the 2 to 10 crystals that are in our altar that are going to be our babies for years to come.
Yes.
Because that is the true meaning of intention and utilizing these tools that are given to us, but they're supposed to be spiritual. So the minute I see many people selling crystals at large, like, the truth is that it's not sustainable. So
no,
if you're running a business that's not sustainable, you're not healing shit.
No,
okay?
Thank you.
You're healing your pocket. So we have to be real with what is healing and the people that are really just taking advantage of this spiritual community.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. And, you know, I've met a lot of elders, whether they were pagan, indigenous, Afro-Caribbean religions, where they have their items. And it's something that they have for their whole life. Like you said, they're babies. And I have my medicine pouch. In times after that, people have given me crystals. I bought 1 or 2, right. But I'm not buying like 50 billion crystals because I know that they're being mined from the earth. And one of the things, and I'm really glad that we're having this conversation. By the way, one of my, you know, little vices there is reggaeton, right? It's so oppressive to women. It's so oppressive to women. But I'm like, Kuna, you know, and then I'm like, okay, do you know what you're saying, Vanessa?
Listen, I challenge more women to come into this world and give us some perreo just for women, by women, and for the queer community, where men, their job is not to come and invade our booties while we're dancing.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons I love that I used to belly dance. And some people reacted very negatively, talk about shaming. My grandmother and my mom and my father's sister, who would be 100 years old right now, or like 90. She said to me, you know, before she passed, she goes, I heard your belly dancing. I tried. They told me that I was, you know, being a Buddha and all this. And I started later in my 30s to belly dance and perform, but I didn't want to get paid. And it was in sisterhood. We were not dancing for the male gaze. It was not penis centric. It wasn't male centric. It was, I am feeling myself, you know, and I am a goddess. So how powerful. So what is something, do you talk about this? Have you been really like, I'm glad that you shared this here. Have you been sharing this in other videos in other ways? Because now that the trend has brought in people, I think it's also now time for like the OG Brujas to be, and the new ones too, to help educate, right? To really not hate, to educate. Because again, people are confusing a brand, people are confusing a crystal on the nipples, being naked, a cigar in the mouth, you know, a cigar in the mouth, open legs, and like a cauldron between our legs, like, oh, I'm a bruja. And so have you been talking about this in other spaces, publicly, in your circle?
Yeah, so publicly I have spoken about this in other spaces. And I had a podcast, I don't know, over 2 years ago, and it lasted for 3 years. And, you know, we were really the beginnings of what is Latinas with a podcast. Forget about, we were the first Latinas talking about brujas and spirituality. And through that conversation, this was years ago, we were discussing, do not buy Palo Santo from Urban Outfitters. Do not go buy that sage from that corner store that's ran by white women, and that white woman doesn't even discuss once about it being a Native American practice, right? So yeah, I've spoken about this throughout my life, but at the same time, I think that there comes a time for me, I think that I've spoken about it so much already that it is exhausting. And I think that my energy and what I want to put a lot of my time to now is to focus on those brujas like yourself and like many others that I do a lot of collaborations with, to keep building that, because there's already so much energy there that I'm like, you know what, we can outbeat the aspect of what is the commercialization of spirituality by us over here becoming the great educators and healers. So yeah, my energy really from this point, and listen, you have a podcast now, so I encourage you to have those conversations again, because not everyone heard my podcast, which was Morado Lens way back when. But
I know Morado Lens. Oh, I love that. For everybody who's watching or listening, que lindo, que bueno. And I have to tell you, I'm glad that you brought up about the exhaustion, because I have revisited, like, my sacred work became my full-time job when I got laid off 4 times in 3 years. Wow. Right? And I you know, this was my community thing. This was the way that I lived and breathed, and it became my work. Now 8 years supporting myself fully, from the trainings in English and Spanish, everything. And there's a part of me that sometimes is tired. And so what you're saying is, like, I've talked about, you know, waking up and the oppression and breaking free as women and reclaiming, and as Latinx women, women of color, indigenous women, women from Latin America and from other countries, how we need to reclaim our own power, because it's been separated, it's been demonized, and then it's been claimed and taken over. But there's an exhaustion level. There's an exhaustion level where I'm like, let the new, you know, but now I feel called to share it again. But I do check in every year as to, is it sustainable? Is it sustainable? So someone asking here, and I want you to answer first and I can answer after, is black magic true?
Yeah, black magic exists. Absolutely. I've seen it firsthand growing up. And my mom was involved in Santeria, and there were animals that were I guess used as part of the healings, and their lives were taken for granted. Absolutely. And who knows, maybe that's why I'm my mom's karma. I'm a fucking vegan, and like I would never hurt an animal, and I don't practice black magic. And actually, when I feel, and I want to be very clear with people, black magic comes in so many different ways. Black magic is not just getting la gallina and throwing it and chopping the head and throwing the blood in the soup and making someone drink the soup. That is typical Santeria, brujeria. I know it. I've seen it. I can absolutely practice it if I ever chose to go down that road. I choose not to. But let me tell you how brujeria comes in other ways. When you look at a woman, or you look at someone who you think is doing better than you, and you're not sending them lights, and you're getting upset, and you're getting jealous or envious inside, and you feel like, why them and not me? That's black magic.
Yes.
Because you're sending someone negative energy and mal de ojo, evil eye, even though you're not wanting to do that, you are. So when you feel those emotions, that is black magic.
Absolutely.
That does not serve your higher good. So instead of, when you feel that, be honest with yourself enough to say, you know what, lo que es para ellos es para ellos. Whatever is for them is for them. I send them light. I wish them well. And I will continue to consult my spirit guides that are here to guide me. You know, not Ana or Fulana or Tatiana or Shaquanda. No, it's about you. So what I'm saying is that sometimes your own emotions and your own negative thoughts is your black magic.
Yes, 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 yes. So well said and powerfully said. And the thing is, for me, and I think, and I know for you, that magia, magic, is about healing the collective. That means that there's enough space for everyone. There's enough space for everyone. The circle is wide. It's deep. And the thing is too, this is an interesting thing. Since I've been online for 8 years in my own business and my own work, you know, I've seen a lot of people pop up, and let's say they had the finances to create the photo shoot, the website, the thing. And I remember years ago, I was sitting there crying. I was working hard. I had gotten laid off. I had a surgery. I was in a car accident. Oh, wow. And I had like all these things happen in 2012. I had a breakup. They laid me off the day before surgery, back to back to back to back in 3 months. Then I had MRSA, and it all came to a head in the car accident. And it was the end of the Mayan calendar. And while I heard the voices of my guides telling me, you're going to be okay, vas a estar bien, because I thought, well, I'm going to die. let me stay with my family so I could kind of soothe them if I die. Because I didn't have a seatbelt. I was holding on while the car was rolling. And when I crawled out, my guides were like, you need to go full time with your work. And I thought, well, you know, I've been doing this 20 years. To go full time, like I'm already doing the work. But I'll tell you, some people said to me, you must have been a bad person porque toda esa cosa te pasó. And I'm like, mamita, I am a piece of coal being created into a diamond. And if I was resilient before this shit happened to me in 2012, my guys are trying to show me that I can reach more people, that I can withstand, that I have faith, that I'm supported. And so be mindful, everybody, of what we think is brujeria, because sometimes these challenges are not brujeria at all. And another level of brujeria, I love the evil eye aspect. I love the jealousy aspect that you talked about. But another thing about it is the energy of, we think is brujeria, because I do hypnosis, I do Akashic records and readings, and energy work and trainings. People come to me, they're like, I have brujeria on me. It turns out that it is an ancestral trauma of somebody being beaten by their husband, passed down. So they're thinking Filomena and Monguita and Juanita and Paquita and whoever is doing something to them. And it's like, girl, it's within your own line, and we have to heal that. So be mindful. And I think that the antidote to any of that stuff is staying really grounded, really centered, honoring your own spirit, your own ancestors and guides, so you're protected from this.
That's right. Yeah, and you know what? I'll give all your listeners now one simple tool that they can do to stay grounded and stay centered, because those words are so foofy these days in spirituality. Like one simple way to do that is a pen and paper. You can all afford it. You all have it at home, a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. You slice it in two and you say what you want to release, things that are fucking with you. That could be molestation when you were 6 years old. That could have been the 4 jobs you lost at 22. And that could have been that abortion you got at 25. Put the 3 things you want to release that have been fucking with your soul and spirit. Shit you haven't told your best friend, you haven't told your abuela, you haven't told your husband, you haven't even told yourself yet. Write that on paper, and right next to it, you put what you want to replace it with. Because sometimes it's not just releasing the darkness or the ancestral trauma, is what do we replace it with? So you're releasing an abortion, you know what you're replacing it with? You're replacing it with love in your womb. You're creating a place of safety in your womb. You're knowing that you're a full woman or full human with or without a uterus. If you went through a situation with reproduction system, if you went through molestation, release that man that was your predator or that woman that was your predator, and replace it with someone who is really fond of you, your spirit guides, your woman that you love, you know, your tribe. Replace them with that, because the narrative that we live with, to your point, Brujita, the narrative that we stay with, whether it was passed down to us by our abuela or we don't even know it because it's just lineage trauma, you have to write down on a piece of paper, and you have to become honest with yourself. And that is what decolonization of the mind is. It's not always, you know, doing un baño. I do baños for my clients too, spiritual baños, but I always tell them, this is not going to solve all your problems. I'm just going to clear out your energy and your aura so that you can start attracting more abundance, because sometimes we put that block. You know?
Well, and thank you. That was so powerful. I, as I said before when I got on, I love you more than I could have known. And now I know why we're here and why we're connecting. I really adore you. And I love Morado Lens. I have listened to it before, and now I'm connecting it that it's you. And I'm like, pero por supuesto that we're here. So I just thank you, Natalie. And we're going to continue, because I want you on my podcast. I want more. This is just something that really came to me for the full moon in Scorpio. I wanted to do a summit. I wanted to do so much. But then I'm like, you know, muchacha, you have a lot on your plate. Do what you can. Thank you for saying yes to me. I want to wrap it up, but because I want to give a couple of minutes before I bring on someone else. But how can people reach you? How can people connect? And Ilona says, so important, you can't release. You must also replace with what belongs to you. Yes, we will. Val, we will. Natalie is a treasure, and we need to share. So you can reach her at La Brujas Club. Please follow her. Any parting words that you want to give us before we close today, Natalie? Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for having me again. I appreciate your space that you've created for all your brujitas and healers and stuff. So I appreciate everyone that tuned in today. Also, I put in the website labrujasclub.com, because sometimes I have my events and some things that are going on there. But also for anyone who doesn't know what I'm about, what the community is about, check out labrujasclub.com because it gives you a little bit of where it was born from and where I wanted to live throughout and what the thought process is behind me. I'm a human. That means I'm flawed. Therefore, I do not call La Brujas Club my own. I call La Brujas Club ours. And whenever I do a mistake, I want to be called out. And when others do a mistake, I'm here to help call them out because I'm here to make sure my community is safe. So I just want to send you all with a lot of love and light. Also, I would love for everyone that can to join us this Friday, tonight, actually at 8:30 p.m. I'm doing my last IG Live, my half-hour session thing that I was doing. And then Sunday, I'm going to do a special. I'm doing a special 1-hour IG Live special with a Bruja from Spain called The Dance Witch. She's doing a full choreography for all of the listeners and viewers. And it's in honor of mothers, creators, Mother Earth. And a special shout out to Wendy, who's a mother of Amud, who is a Black man who was shot while jogging in Georgia. So I'm here, and sometimes we're like, oh, that's so political. You know what? Being a Bruja, we have to heal our community. And equity and social justice is part of our healing process.
It is. Gracias. Thank
you. So
tonight,
Friday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And that's tonight. And then Sunday, for Mother's Day, it's going to be 12 to 1, a special choreography just for La Brujas Club viewers. And it's in honor of Mother's Day. So tune in, get your dance on before you go cook your big barbecue. So yeah, and I thank you again to everybody. And you, Brujita, I wish you the best. Keep teaching, keep informing, keep inspiring.
Gracias, Natalie. Gracias, Natalie from the Brujas Club. Gracias. You've heard this amazing Brujita today. We're going to keep in touch. We're going to keep creating, co-creating. For anyone else who's just hopping on or has been on, in about 3 minutes, we're going to have Shirley Johnson, a beautiful Brujita from the West Coast, a healer, a therapist. She will be on in about 2 minutes. So stay on. And at 3 o'clock, we're going to have Jovan Casiares from Puerto Rico talking about nature and healing and how to eat to heal your mind, body, and spirit. Gracias, Natalie, Vale, Erijo, Gojo. And then at 5 o'clock, we're going to be talking about inner child healing today. And at 8 o'clock, we're going to be going on live to talk about the awakening, when you awaken to your spiritual path. So I will be on in about 2 minutes. I hope you will come back because we're going to be embracing Shirley Johnson. I just want to save this video on my phone, and then I'm coming right back. Un besito. Hello, everybody. Bruja Rising with Vanessa Codorniu. We're connecting with wisdom keepers today, and I am so excited to be here with all of you. I am going to